Today I'm motherless without my daughters.
Tonight, family members mourn the missing and murdered.
What we have seen in Ottawa is an ongoing and sustained effort by a small organization who, with a very extreme ideology.
Ottawa's police chief quits over the ongoing Freedom Convoy.
Some of the biologists are pushing 3 years of trapping experience, and then you could take over your family trap line.
And a group of youngsters learn how to harvest fur.
Good evening, welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Unmarked graves have been discovered on 2 more former residential school sites in Saskatchewan. Ground-penetrating radar results show 54 graves at St. Philip's and Fort Pelly residential schools near Kisikoos First Nation in east-central Saskatchewan. Here's Leanne Sanders with more.
This is now the 5th search to confirm the presence of graves at former residential schools in Canada. And according to Elder Ted Cuazance, the latest reminder of the assimilation and genocide that happened there.
Our chief has recognized that healing is not a political event. The work that has been done within our community, it's not politics. It's a human issue.
Assembly of First Nations Chief Roseanne Archibald says the graves need to be investigated as crime scenes because there are children who never came home.
They knew about this, what was happening in these institutions. And one of the survivors said, we just weren't believed. And so when we make these recoveries, that's proof. That's long overdue proof that genocide has occurred in Canada.
Archbishop Don Bolin of the Regina Roman Catholic Diocese was at today's announcement. He's one of 2 Saskatchewan bishops trying to bring the Pope to Canada to apologize, and says he's been reflecting on how the Church can walk in solidarity with survivors for real conciliation.
Reflecting on how the Church can walk in solidarity with you in the pursuit of real conciliation. And we are profoundly sorry for the role that Catholics played in the schools and the abuse that you suffered.
Indigenous Services Minister Mark Miller says the strength of the knowledge keepers should be recognized as the truth they already knew is being revealed.
And it shouldn't have to be said, but I feel it does to survivors and your families. I believe you, and Canada believes you.
For Treaty Commissioner of Saskatchewan, Mary Culbertson, today's announcement is confirmation of the stories she remembers when she was growing up on Kisikoos First Nation.
You knew places you couldn't go play along where that teacherage used to be. Don't look outside at night because we were always scared of where that playground was and how you'd feel looking at it. Or walking someone home across the road from the teacherage to behind the rink and you'd hear a baby crying in the bush.
Another site will be searched starting this summer at the neighboring Cody First Nation. Leanne Sanders, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Thousands came out for Vancouver's March for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls yesterday. The crowd sang songs, chanted and drummed, and one famous Gastown statue was pulled down in the protest. APTN's Tina House has this report.
The 31st annual Valentine's Day Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women's March took place beginning at Main and Hastings, an area where hundreds have been reported missing or were killed. Family members like Marlene Jack, whose sister Doreen's husband Ronnie, and their 2 young boys were reported missing in 1989 from Prince George, BC. Despite hundreds of tips and ground searches, the case is still open with police, appealing for anyone to come forward with any information.
Pray for our families, pray for our women, to keep them safe.
And with protocol and initial ceremonies complete, the crowd of nearly 5,000 began their somber march, remembering those they've lost and demanding justice. For Carol Martin, who was not only on the organizing committee, but she also knew many of the victims of serial killer Robert Pickton.
It hasn't gotten any better. Anything else has gotten worse. Violence has become a commodity. So is homelessness, and nothing has changed.
And just as the march was approaching the statue of Gassy Jack, this video caught the moment that some people in the crowd had used ropes to topple the statue of Jack Dayton, a man that was famous for opening numerous taverns in the area, later named Gastown. But as Cease Weiss explains, Gassy Jack was also known for another reason.
Gassy Jack is a very well-documented pedophile. It's written in the archives of Vancouver. I just read a poem, and all of the work that was in there mostly came from Vancouver archives. All the information about his wives, his two Squamish wives being 12 years old when he married them, and he was over 40 years old, and if that isn't a pedophile, I don't know what is. So we've all had to stomach for the last 150 years people worshiping this man because he built a village full of taverns.
And for many that took part in the destruction of the statue, it symbolized taking back their power.
This is a step towards decolonization. This is a step towards reclaiming our spirit and for saying no more stolen sisters, no more pedophiles being glorified. Everybody shut down people like Harvey Weinstein, but we can't shut down Gassy Jack. We've sat here today watching people come up and take pictures like he's some hero. He's not a hero. He's a monster.
The City of Vancouver released a statement saying, while the statue is clearly a symbol of pain, violence, and trauma associated with colonialism and violence against Indigenous women and girls, the actions that removed it in a dangerous way undermines the ongoing work with the Squamish Nation to guide the steps towards reconciliation. Vancouver police are investigating what they call mischief, and so far no one has been arrested. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
Fun bit of history for you there. Over in Calgary, as part of the nationwide movement to honor missing murdered Indigenous women and girls, they also held their 14th annual Valentine's Day Memorial Walk, which took place last night. Calgarians marched through busy streets holding red silhouettes representing family members. At the event, Stephanie English of Piikani Nation shared the story of her daughter, Joey, who was found dismembered in various sites around the city 6 years ago.
It's a healing journey for myself and my family. It's given me my purpose, why I'm here, to share my story, to help others out there. We're so used to being thrown down and walked all over through society. Today I'm motherless without my daughters. You know, I had to learn how to relive to be a mother again without my daughters.
It was a press conference meant to announce the end of PCR test requirements when entering Canada, but it was dominated by questions over the resignation of Ottawa Police Chief Peter Slowly. APTN's Fraser Needham reports.
Ottawa residents are frustrated and
Slowly had faced criticism for not doing enough, right from the very beginning of the 3-week ongoing illegal blockade, for failing to control the movements of anti-vaccine demonstrators, to preventing their trucks from gridlocking Ottawa's downtown streets. At a Tuesday press conference, Canada's Minister of Public Safety said the gravity of the Ottawa blockade has not been lost on the government.
What we have seen in Ottawa is an ongoing and sustained effort by a small organization who, with a very extreme ideology, has intimidated, harassed, and has broken the law in a way that is unacceptable.
On Monday, the federal government invoked the Emergencies Act, giving police more powers to deal with this and other illegal blockades. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
There was another deadly house fire on a First Nation over the weekend, this time in northern Manitoba. 2 teens and a toddler died in an early morning blaze in Pimachikamak Cree Nation on Saturday. RCMP say 4 others were able to escape and suffered various injuries. It's the 3rd fatal house fire on a First Nation in the last month. 1 week ago, 3 members of Siksika Nation in Alberta, including a 6-year-old, died in a house fire. The cause of that is still under investigation. There were 11 people at the home when the fire broke out. And in mid-January, 3 children aged 3 to 9 died in a house fire in Sandy Lake First Nation in northern Ontario. The Yukon is seeing more overdose deaths than ever before. To try to deal with the crisis, a First Nation in the territory is expanding its supports for people suffering from substance abuse. The Kwanlin First Nation in Whitehorse is investing $500,000 for private trauma and substance abuse treatment programs. It's also recruiting staff for the North's first residential managed alcohol program. in the First Nations McIntyre subdivision. It can house 8 males as they heal from addiction. This funding will also allow nurses at their health center to be able to test clients for drugs, including fentanyl and benzodiazepines.
These new programs address different needs in our community. Together, we see them contributing to better outcomes for Kwanlundan people who are suffering.
Sorry, just to clarify, that funding will allow nurses at the health center to be able to test people's drugs to see if they're free of fentanyl and benzodiazepines. Well, we need to take a break, but still ahead, who are the babes in the woods? After 70 years, 2 child victims are named. That's coming up after the break. It's a mystery that's gone unsolved for 70 years until now. 2 child victims in one of Vancouver's most famous cold cases have been identified. In 1953, 2 young boys were found bludgeoned to death in Stanley Park. Coined the Babes in the Woods case, they were left nameless until now. Vancouver police confirmed their identities as David and Derek Dalton. The half-brothers were 6 and 7 years old. According to media reports, their grandniece, Allie Brady, uploaded her DNA to a genealogy site, and authorities made the match. Brady told local media that the boys' mother, Eileen Bousquet, was Métis. She died in 1996, and it is not known if she had anything to do with the children's murder. Trish Hertubis is an investigative genetic genealogist. She founded the Indigenous Advisory Society last year. She joins me now to discuss. Trish, we're so thankful that you could join us today. You know, what was your reaction to the quote that the fact that the babes in the woods could be of Métis descent?
My first reaction was, well, first I was very excited to know that this case had been solved after so many decades. And then it was almost a slight bit of disbelief that they were of Métis descent, because we weren't expecting that. There were so many theories out there that didn't involve a Métis background. Yeah. So it was shocking.
Yeah. You know, how can investigative genealogy help with all of these cases of missing, murdered Indigenous people and those who haven't been identified?
I believe it has untapped potential because there are so many cold cases sitting in different law enforcement departments that are waiting to be solved, and they appear to be of Indigenous descent or unknown, like these boys. And now investigative genealogy can close those gaps and also, you know, put some of the numbers of missing and murdered Indigenous people who may be unidentified in cold case lockers or whatnot. So I think it can start to put puzzle pieces together.
Yeah. You know, I know you've been doing this for long before, you know, kind of the national collective or the North American collective really started noticing or paying attention to missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and men. You know, you started this with an Indigenous focus. You know, explain to us, I mean, I've known you doing this for a long time, but why were you compelled to start doing this?
I was compelled because I believe that there's not enough awareness about it to know the potential it has, to the gifts it can bring to communities and families by bringing answer and closures. And it's bringing science into the social circle, you know. Mm-hmm. And because it wasn't out there, it's not out there, who better to bring it forward than somebody who has hands-on and somebody who has awareness and somebody who's from the community, you know, act as the conduit between all parties.
Yeah. Well, you're certainly a gift to these families, you know, helping to give them some closure to, you know, the unspeakable that they've been living with. You know, what's some of the feedback that you've heard from families and descendants that on cases that you've worked to bring them that closure?
I don't hear too much of that because there's usually an intermediary of law enforcement, but there have been some families who reach out and ask if they can have contact with researchers. Mm-hmm. And it's humbling. It kind of rattles you, because then you realize the magnitude or I realize the magnitude of what I'm doing and the impact it has on others.
Well, we thank you for sharing your gift. It means a lot to a lot of people, and even if you're not hearing from all of them, you know that your work means so much. Thanks for joining us, Trish.
No problem. Thank you.
It's time for another break, but still ahead, a new generation of trappers.
We're trying to get as many youth back on the land, not only for trapping, but to practice our inherent rights.
As I'm going like this.
And there's so many youth that are lost in their ways right now, and one of the best ways is to connect with the land.
Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Yesterday we shared this wonderful photo, but unfortunately we read the wrong details. This Valentine's Day photo of little Adeline Weber was sent in by Kelsey Weber. It makes your heart melt just like a handful of chocolate. Our apologies to Kelsey and Adeline. We just wanted to share this picture again because it's super cute. Send your photos, it could be sunsets, furry pets, whatever, to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. On the east coast, we got sunshine and -7 for Charlottetown, snow and -4 for Fredericton. Happy Valley, Goose Bay, -18, sunny skies, Kuujjuaq snow, -22. Quebec City, you've got some snow, -4, Chibougamau, -5, you're snowing as well. Sunshine and a little bit of cloud for Ottawa, 4 degrees there, sunshine and 8 in Toronto. Snow and -1 for Kapuskasing, -16, snowing there in Big Trout Lake. Sunshine and -25 for Puckatawagan, -27 and sunny for Churchill. -15 and snow for Winnipeg and Dauphin, -16 and snow for Brandon. Sunny and -18 for North Battleford and Saskatoon, -17 and sunshine for Regina. -22 and sunny for Larange and Buffalo Narrows, -27 and sunshine for Stony Rapids. Snow and -19 in High Level, sunshine, -21 for Fort McMurray. Snow and -11 in Edmonton. Medicine Hat, you're going to get some snow, -2. Rain expected for Kamloops and 7 degrees, 7 and sunny in Vancouver. Rain and 6 for Smithers, snow, -1 in Dease Lake. -36 in clear skies for Old Crow, -26, sunny for Rock River. -25 in sunshine for Wrigley, Yellowknife and Wauhee, both -34, sunny skies. Same with Colville Lake, -34 and sunny, -37 and sunny for Fort McPherson. Baker Lake, -29 and sunny, -32, clear skies for New Yacht. -31 and sunny for Clyde River, Arctic Bay, snow, -30, clear skies, -34 for Resolute. The Mohawk Council of Ganawage and the Six Nations of the Grand River joined forces on Tuesday and announced their mutual cooperation agreement on gaming. Grand Chief Sky Deer of Ganawage and Chief Hill of Six Nations signed an agreement promising to defend their Indigenous jurisdiction over gaming. Both nations have owned and regulated their gaming since the 90s, but the government of Ontario has established its own online gaming service and wants First Nations to get licensed under the province. Ontario requires gaming providers to get their licenses by April 4th, so the clock is ticking on negotiations.
Government, they have to respect our jurisdiction, and they have to respect where we come from and what we have to do on behalf of our people to make sure that we're protecting and maintaining the health and safety of all of our members. And again, there's opportunities that lie within working together, and I think that's the most important message here today.
In Alberta, Cree youth in Wabasca spent the weekend on the land learning how to trap, but it will take more than traditional teachings to one day take over their family's trap lines. Tamara Pimentel was lucky enough to go out with them. Here's her report.
Even these big boys.
Seth Auger is a certified junior trapper.
Still learning. Once I have the money, I'll go buy some traps and start chopping some mountains.
As the trapping season comes to an end in Wabasca, Alberta, Auger joins 6 other youth in a camp funded by Alberta Health Services Honoring Life. A weekend full of sledding, setting and checking traps, and harvesting furs, getting these teens out on the land and learning the basics from trapper Bobby Beaver.
And we're trying to get as many youth back on the land, not only for trapping, but to practice our inherent rights.
And I'm going like this.
And there's so many youth that are lost in their ways right now, and one of the best ways is to connect with the land. For me, that's my happy place.
But to become certified like OJ and Beaver, the youth have to take a course through the province, the Alberta Trappers Education Program. It became mandatory in 2014 to ensure furs are harvested using humane trapping methods. Beaver is an instructor and works with the Treaty 8 Trappers Association, which encourages youth to get involved. He says this camp only gives a rundown of what the 3-day course looks like.
Eventually, if you have enough years experience, I think some of the biologists are pushing 3 years of trapping experience, and then you could take over your family trap line.
A common goal many here hope to accomplish.
If that's something that I do, then I'll be able to probably put my name as the junior on my grandpa's trap line.
Well, right now it's just my Musum and my dad, and then it would be me.
So far, 3 have signed up for the program. Alanis Yellowknee and Chevy Young are 2 of them.
It's kind of a dying art, let's say, like a lot of things. And being able to have more people to know about it is good for preservation of knowledge.
Kind of keeps the trap line in the family, and if someone wants to try to take it, well, they can't, because there's another generation that's going to come up and take over.
According to the province of Alberta, if an Indigenous-owned trapline is not being used, the government would work with the affiliated nation to find a new owner.
It's all about new traps, new regulations we have to follow. And I totally agree with that, because we respect the animals we trap, we respect the land, and the humane ways is the only way to go.
On day 2, teachings from a local elder, lessons on setting lynx snares, and how to properly harvest furs, including OJ's catch of the season.
And have some wolf bait stations out there. That's what I'm going for right now.
Soon, OJ will be able to take over his Musham's trap line and continue sharing his knowledge so others can do the same. Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Wabasca.
Tonight on Face to Face with Dennis Ward, we speak to former MMIWG Inquiry Commissioner Marion Buller about how the government is answering the calls to justice. Take a look.
The federal government has fallen flat on its face. We don't have an implementation plan. There hasn't been any sort of cohesive statement on the part of the federal government about what it plans to do. There's no looking forward. If there is an implementation plan, I don't know about it, and they're keeping it quiet. But they have quite literally fallen flat on their face in terms of their responses.
That's all the time we have for your news tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Stay tuned right now for Face to Face.